Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Titan Business Builders podcast. And today I'm very excited, very happy that we have Ted Prodromou as our guest. And he has been in the marketing space for many years now. And he's like the number one LinkedIn coach out there, the LinkedIn expert out there. So we're going to get to know more about LinkedIn in a bit. But first, I want to welcome Ted. How are you, Ted?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure to have you on the show. And like I said, before we go into deep diving into the LinkedIn stuff, I'm always curious how people started their business journey, their entrepreneurial journey. We always send out a questionnaire before the podcast, and there you mentioned that you had to pivot several times in your career, and then eventually you end up where you're at right now. But take us through like the first couple of pivots that you had to make.
Yeah. Not that I really wanted to make these pivots, but yeah, moved to San Francisco in 1980. I was 21 years old. I
That's
was
my
a computer
birthday.
guy. I loved computers. I loved taking things apart. So I started fixing computers. Then computer networking was invented, and I worked for the company Digital, who was inventing computer networking at the time.
Okay.
And I became a network manager at Cellular One in San Francisco when they had 40 employees, and we had about 5,000 people with cell phones in the Bay Area.
Wow.
We had a big party when we hit 10,000 subscribers. I remember I was like, whoa. And they said, someday everyone's going to have a cell phone. Like, who can afford a cell phone for the whole family? So it's crazy. It's at the beginning of all these great industries. And then, the internet came along in the 90s, and I was installing networks. I quit my job because people were just like saying, you know how to get on the internet? You can set up a computer network for me? And they were like, it was the greatest till the .com crash hit. Like all of a sudden, couldn't find any work. I had like 20 years experience in computers and networking, and everything was outsourced, or they just laid people off. Everything was getting automated. So that's when I had to pivot. And at Cellular One, I was employee number 40. And within 4 years, I had like 70 people reporting to me in the computer department. So I love mentoring these people. So I said, I'll get certified as a coach. Got certified as a coach, didn't know marketing, started learning Dan Kennedy, started going to his events. I met Perry Marshall, learned Google AdWords, learned SEO, learned HTML, all this stuff.
Wow.
So that was my next career. I kind of abandoned the coaching. I liked marketing more. And then 2008 came. All my businesses disappeared. I had a lot of small business clients. They went out of business, or they just stopped marketing. So I got a job at 52 years old as an online marketing manager for a software company. So I was like, I could all these ups and downs. Like, oh, this is great. I'll work here for the rest of my career. We were spending about $50,000 a week on Google ads. I was like, this is great. I love this job. But they were so successful. They got venture capital money, brought in their own marketing agency, laid us all off after 3 years. So here I am back writing books about LinkedIn and Twitter and helping people with their marketing. That wasn't how I planned it at all, but you just have to keep adapting, especially these days. Things change so fast.
I think that's one of the biggest thing of your success as well. The fact that you had to go through those pivots, that you had to adapt, that you had to learn a lot of new stuff pretty quickly to make sure that you could get some business going, right?
Right. Always be learning. Years ago, when I worked for Cellular One in the 1990s, they used to bring in, they were not called coaches yet. They were like personal development people, team builders, helping us as we're growing so fast, how to work better together. And that's why I started listening to like Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy, all these gurus. And I just love personal development. So I'm always learning, not just technical skills, but personal skills, meditation, how to reduce your stress, all those things.
So it's true what they say, really, the most successful people, do all of these things to make sure that they reach the highest potential. So the morning routine, the daily habits, having a good structure, all of it is still relevant up until this day. And from the early ages, I mean, it's sometimes surprises me that still people would say, yeah, but does it really work? You know,
Right.
and yeah, it does work. But the thing is, it doesn't work if you don't do it consistently, right?
Right. A little
And
bit every day goes a long way.
exactly. And I think this is the same also with all the social media platforms out there now as well. If people say, yeah, we're not successful on Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever, it might be that they're not consistent enough. Am I right?
Yeah. You got to just keep your name in front of people, because it's like the algorithms now with Facebook or LinkedIn. I'll start seeing your posts for a while, but if I don't interact with them, you fall off my radar and other people come on my radar. So then if I look at your profile, you're back on my radar, back on the news feed. So you just kind of keep your name in front of people. That's what I hired people off Upwork.com when I wrote my books. I gave them the manuscript and I hired 5 people. I said, you have 2 hours to write social media posts from my manuscript. The first time I did it, I hired one person and she did a great job. So I had like 100 tweets and social media posts. The second book, I hired 5 people for a little bit and I got 5 different perspectives. I said, oh, this is even better. So now I have about 500 posts. They're excerpts from my book written by 5 different people that I just queue up in sendable.com. And it just pushes them out there to different social media platforms at different times. It just keeps my name in front of people.
Yeah, being top of mind is really important.
Yeah.
And making sure that you are seen then as one of the experts in your field. In your case, this is really LinkedIn. But was LinkedIn always your go-to platform or your go-to expertise? Because you have done so many things. How did you end up into LinkedIn, actually?
It's purely by accident. Everybody signed up for LinkedIn. Most of the time, we never went back because we weren't looking for a job. It's basically, in the old days, it was a resume site. So there's no reason for me to log back in. But at the time, I joined Perry Marshall's Roundtable, like when I was just starting my business for the 3rd time. So I was in Perry's Roundtable, and actually I went to a 4-man intensive at his house where 4 people go to his house for 2 days. And we sit in his office and we each get a half a day of working on our business with Perry. So he just sitting there doing all these Google searches. Like after like 20 minutes, he sticks his head up and goes, you need to write a book about Twitter. I'm like, okay. And Perry's books are from Entrepreneur Press, and they have to be 300 pages long.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, how am I going to write 300 pages about Twitter? There was no other Twitter books on the market at the time. So I'm like scratching my head, like, oh, I just can't write that much. I wrote an ebook about it, but I kind of just put it on the shelf for a while. And then I was working that full-time job. And I come home, I still have my business going on the side. And I got a voicemail. He goes, I'm Perry Marshall's agent. Hey, Perry, Entrepreneur Press wants a book about Twitter and LinkedIn, because Perry has the Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords and Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising, the 2 biggest sellers in the history of Entrepreneur Press. So I'm like, first I'm thinking, Perry Marshall has an agent? And why is this guy calling me? So basically, I got 2 book deals. And I was supposed to co-author them with Perry. And Perry said, I'm not even on LinkedIn. You just write that book. I'll write the foreword. And I don't see much value in Twitter, and I'm too busy. So you just write both books. And that's how I really started engaging into Twitter, into LinkedIn and Twitter.
So it was almost Perry that pushed you on those platforms.
Yeah, nothing like getting 2 book deals with big advances. Like, okay, now you need to learn the platforms in detail.
Yeah.
I was, used LinkedIn and I got some business from it, but I had 650 followers at the time on LinkedIn when I wrote the first book.
So what made you fall in love with the platform then?
It's really what my approach is like. You meet people in person and you start to get to know each other, and then you start doing business together, maybe or maybe not. What's happened now is people are just inviting you to connect with sales pitches.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. For them, okay, I'll send 100 invitations a day and maybe I'll get something. It's like cold calling.
Yeah.
Call 100 people. If you don't make a sale, call 100 more people.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is on LinkedIn, 60% of people don't log in more than once a month. So if you're like using automation and blasting messages at people and invitations, you have hundreds of invitations in the queue. And then LinkedIn says, hey, this person's being too aggressive. And they'll put your account on pause for 24 hours. They put you in the penalty box or LinkedIn jail. So, but my whole approach is treat social media like and all these copywriting courses I've done over the years, like when you write a sales letter or an email, you're sending it to thousands of people. But if you write it like you're writing it to one person, they feel like you're personally talking to them.
Mm.
So treat social media the same way, one conversation at a time. It can be seen by thousands, but if you really take that perspective, you get much more engagement.
Is this kind of what you're telling right now? Is this something that you had as an idea, as a strategy from the beginning? Because from my perspective, it got so bad into the automation. Everybody was, okay, you have to do automation, and tools everywhere, that you would think, okay, but is that now really the only way? But you saying that you have to go personal is what people are going back to now, because they see automation is just not working. And LinkedIn is putting restrictions into 100 LinkedIn connections per week. So automation isn't the most viable option anymore. I'm just wondering, in your perspective, the way that you are doing it, do you feel like this was always the best way and automation was just something that came up because people are getting lazy with it?
I've used automation. I've tested it over the years.
Yeah.
But when I started my career in the 80s and 90s, the internet didn't exist. Networks didn't exist. So we really went to local networking events, BNI or Chamber of Commerce, and we met people face to face and we built relationships with one person at a time. And that's how we did it. And as the internet grew and got more popular, everybody just started blasting messages. Like I just say, don't blast messages at people, talk to people online.
Yeah.
And most of the people I work with, most of my clients are small business owners. I said, do you really need 100 appointments a week or 50 appointments a week to sell your products and services? Can you really handle 50 calls a week and 50 new clients a week? And they say, no, I just need 1 or 2 clients a week or a month even. A lot of coaches like, hey, if I get 2 new clients a month, it keeps my practice full. So I just focus on those one-to-one conversations on LinkedIn. Find content that they're posting. They're one of the 40% of the active users, and engage with their content. And it just takes 10, 20 minutes a day. It doesn't take all day. But just find active conversations, interact with those people. If you really like what they said, compliment it and say why you liked what it is. Don't just say, nice post, Joe. Really be thoughtful, and you build relationships that way, and you get referrals and you get long-term clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have time to spend 15 minutes a day on LinkedIn, but well, you can find 15 minutes to go engage with people if you really want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was one of the other things that a lot of people, I hear them say, like, okay, we use automation because we don't have the time to talk to that many people or to follow up with those many people. And yeah, if indeed, like you said, if you're reaching out to hundreds of people a day, I can imagine that is almost impossible to do. But I feel for what I do as well, when you scale it back and when you're actually seeking out the people that you want to work with, your ideal customer, and you start engaging with those people and starting conversation with those people, that doesn't take a long. But and here's the thing. That's what we said in the beginning. Be consistent, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would for you be the ideal follow-up cadence in LinkedIn, for example? How do you approach this?
Yeah, well, I've just looked for those people posting on LinkedIn is the easiest way. You can do searches for content, for posts. So I put this like a top. I have one client, she's a mindset coach. So we go on to LinkedIn and type mindset in the search box and say posts. And it puts all the content that's being posted right there about mindset. And then she can find people that are posting content about mindset, but also people that are commenting on it. So you look at those people who are commenting, and then you can reach out and connect with them if they're second or third degree connections. Say, hey, I like what you posted on Stefan's post about mindset.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, thank you very much. And they build a relationship. And a lot of times they'll invite you to connect then. And you're building your network with people that are interested in mindset or whatever service you offer. Another really good trick is there's the insight tag. It's like Facebook Pixel. LinkedIn has their own.
Okay.
If you put that on your website, it matches up. Everybody that came from LinkedIn to your website or vice versa, it tells you their demographics, how big their company is, their job title, their job function, where they're located. And then it tells you exactly who's already coming to your website. So you start searching LinkedIn for that criteria. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's like,
so LinkedIn has an insight tag that you can put you can put it on your website, and it gathers the information that they have on LinkedIn then.
It doesn't give you the specific person's name, but it tells you a lot of the demographics.
Oh yeah, okay.
So most people that come to my website have a company size of 2 to 500. There's different categories. Most people that come to my website are in business development and sales. And I didn't have any Sales Navigator training available. Like all these salespeople are coming to my website looking for some advice.
Yeah.
So I created Sales Navigator training.
And that's because you saw in the insights that those people were visiting your site.
Yeah.
That's actually really good information, because then you can go back to Sales Navigator and look for those people or look for that content on LinkedIn to engage with.
Right. Or on my homepage, I just say, if you need Sales Navigator training,
click
here. And I've got right after this call, I'm training a sales team on how to use Sales Navigator.
That's already a very valuable tip.
And now, it's free.
I didn't know that, really. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now, there's, of course, like a lot of platforms out there, and LinkedIn is one of them. Facebook is one of them. A lot of people only focus on one or the other, or are so focused on Facebook, for example, that they just disregard LinkedIn. And what would you say to people like Jocelyn is watching right now live, and she already commented, like, I don't know how to use LinkedIn, right? So what would your advice be for Jocelyn? How should she get started with LinkedIn that would create an impact for her business?
So really, you got to be clear on who your target audience is. And that's why that insight tag helps you find people that are already coming to your website. But you got to have an idea of who are your best customers now. Or if you're even just getting started in your business, you're a coach. A lot of coaches. Last year in 2020 in February, there was 2.5 million coaches on LinkedIn. Today, there's 6.5 million.
Wow.
If you're a coach, you really have to differentiate yourself. Yeah. That's why your headline is really important on your profile. So you have to get really clear. Who do you help and how do you help them? Marketing 101.
And what would you say to people that say, okay, how should I use LinkedIn? Or how should I use it in a way that can really help me, not only about connecting with the right kind of people. But why would LinkedIn be better for me sometimes than Facebook?
The same people are on Facebook that are on LinkedIn. My friend Alex Mondosian said it best one time. I was helping him with his LinkedIn. He goes, LinkedIn's like a library. People are just quiet and polite because they don't want to piss off their boss. And people are on, the same person goes to Facebook a minute later and they're like, having a party and having a good time. So it's like they're different mindsets, literally from minute to minute as they bounce back between the platforms. So you can engage people on Facebook, but you do it in a different way. You don't put the same content on Facebook and LinkedIn. And Facebook is more for fun, engaging, but you can get lots of business from it.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, they're more serious, they're more business focused. So you want to talk to them from that business perspective. And they usually have corporate money to spend too, a lot of times.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. One of the other things that I was wondering is if you're going to LinkedIn, like the dynamics of groups, why is LinkedIn so bad at it compared to Facebook?
Yeah, boy, they used to be great. You could go to groups and people would be asking for help. Now with all this automation, people just blast articles. They'll write one article and they'll blast it to 50 groups with software.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll go through and they're like, you'll see there's no comments, no likes, no engagement with the content because there's literally hundreds of articles being blasted there.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll go to groups that I know used to be active and I'd say, hey, let's start a real conversation here. And a bunch of people will jump in and say, yeah, that'd be a great idea. But then they don't say anything.
Then you go to Facebook.
And then a couple of years ago, LinkedIn tried to fix the groups, because the administrators were using them just to blast sales pitches at them. So they took away all the admin rights to basically, you can't message your whole group anymore. If you have a group of 20,000, you cannot send one message to all 20,000 anymore.
Okay.
So they've kind of killed groups. Marketers killed them first, and then LinkedIn put the final nail in the coffin. Some people do really well with groups. They have good engaged groups, but it's just a lot harder to do now.
Yeah. Yes, that's one of the weird things about LinkedIn. Otherwise, it's definitely a great platform. And what would you say in terms of content creation on LinkedIn would be a good cadence where you don't overdo it, but you don't also the right kind of content, amount of content each day or each week? What would it be?
Yeah, I used to blast 10 to 15 messages a day with my sendable excerpts.
Wow.
And I would pull in content from like Forbes or Inc., business related articles. And I have a friend he has a couple of different programs. They really study the algorithm, actually 2 different friends of mine. And they have figured out don't post more than once a day on LinkedIn. So maybe send 3 to 5 posts a day or a week.
A week.
Because once you push the second post up, it stops promoting the first one. They figured out.
Yeah.
Some of the things that are working really well are short videos. 1 to 3 minute videos. Don't do long videos. You can only post 10-minute videos on LinkedIn anyway. So good engaging videos, or I see a lot of people doing polls lately. A lot of big LinkedIn experts, and they're getting people to respond to the polls, which surprised me.
Why?
You see so many polls, like from Facebook polls, and people always trying to engage you. I don't know. I guess I just burned out on polls. Saw too many of them. That's part of the problem too. I'm so close to all this stuff. Sometimes I got to take a step back and say, okay, let's get a different perspective here.
Yeah. Now you've been in it so long. You're really seen as the expert for LinkedIn. But you say that to stand out, you really want to only work one-on-one with people, but really the people that can use your help, right? That you just don't want to help just anybody, right?
Well, I do group coaching for people. I have a group, So we meet twice a month, and we spend an hour and a half just kind of going through what's new. Like tomorrow we have a group call, and I call it Get Me a Client. So we're going to get someone to volunteer. We'll say, tell me your ideal client. Let's go search LinkedIn, and we'll start engaging with those people. So that's kind of the group coaching model. And then I do one-on-one coaching with people. But what I tell people, if you need 100 leads a week or 1,000 leads a week for your sales team, run ads or teach each sales rep how to engage with these people through sales.
Yeah. Yeah, and that one is a good one, actually, that you say. Indeed, also learn your team how to use it.
Right.
Because, okay, you always want to look for ways to get yourself out of the fulfillment or out of the day-to-day tasks that your team should be doing. But if you're not teaching anybody, then it's going to be hard for sure.
Yeah.
So
LinkedIn's Sales Navigator is very powerful. So if you're serious about prospecting, it's worth the $80 a month or whatever they charge. I think it's $800 a year if you pay by the year. It's like, that's one client a year. You get many times your return. But a lot of people think, oh, $80 a month is too much. I'm like, well, you have to spend money to market.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you cannot spend that, then you're going to have a hard time for sure. Right. I mean, you still need to find the people. It's not going to be pure luck if you just go on the platform and think they will come to me. So,
yeah,
100%. What do you feel makes you stand out in comparison to the others? Like, there are so many experts out there, and I think that's also one of the problems these days, that people like Jocelyn as well, like looking for information, but there's so much noise out there. How do you stand out compared to all the others?
Yeah, that's one thing too. Like I said, there's so many new coaches out there. There's so many new LinkedIn experts. I know how to look at their profile and say, boy, just 3 weeks ago, this person was working a different job, and now they're calling themselves a coach. And they don't even update their LinkedIn profile right. And they're trying to get clients. It's the way I stand out. Frank Kern said this. I was in one of his coaching programs years ago. Ted, you're just so old school. You're an old school marketer. You're old school, do business the old way. Like, well, it works because I'm not looking to grow, have thousands and thousands of clients. I'm at a point in my career, I want to work with the right people. And you get long-term clients and you get lots of great referrals. If you just take on anyone as a client, then they won't get what they're. A lot of times people just aren't ready for coaching, or their business isn't ready. So I just say, don't waste the money right now. Maybe in a year you'll be ready, but here's 3 things you need to do right now to get your business to the level where I could help you. And Frank said, you leave so much money on the table. Like, well, I can't take people's money. I'm honest. I won't take your money if I can't help you. And other competitors of mine will take your money no matter what. And another thing that's helped me, I've really focused on, because I know who my audience is. Most people, my clients are over 50. They've been through many career resets like I have. So we resonate with each other. So they see the content I post and they resonate with that. For someone that's 25 years old, they're probably not my ideal client because they're in a different stage of their career. So I really focus on the people I know, and I attract them, and we work really well together.
Yeah, that's a good point indeed. Finding your audience that really can resonate with you, and not having the idea that you need a lot of thousands of customers and to get it working, right?
And say no to clients you can't help. Don't take their money because your reputation is at stake.
Yeah. But I can also see it's a pitfall for many starters, coaches that start or businesses that start. They want to get revenue as soon as possible, so they just take anything that comes their way.
I made that mistake when I got a real certification in 2001 from a coach. Coaching. It's like took 18 months to get this certification. Oof. So once I got certified, I was like, I'm a life coach. And then everybody said, no, you need to really get specific on what kind of coach you are. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to turn down any business. I don't want to miss anything. And I didn't get any business because I was plain vanilla, just a general coach, where If you're going through a divorce, you want to go through a divorce coach or whatever. So once I started niching down, and I was coaching people through the marketing. So I kind of used my coaching skills when I coach people business coaching. So it all kind of evolved over a few years, but I didn't get any business the first couple of years as a coach because I didn't know how to market and I didn't know how to focus my niche.
Yeah. It's a good tip indeed. Yeah. Knowing your audience. And
if you're going to have brain surgery, you want to go to a guy that does brain surgery all day long, not a general doctor.
Yeah. But I found it also hard and still struggle sometimes with that idea that you want to help everybody in the end, but to help that many people, they need to find you first. And if they're looking for something, they're looking to solve their problem, not everybody's problem, So yeah, I do indeed believe that niching down is important. And I think it's John Lee Dumas that said it as well in his book, like niche down so hard that it hurts.
Yeah.
So it goes so deep that you think, okay, there's nobody in here, but that will also make you stand out because you will maybe be the only one that's servicing those kind of people.
That's why your LinkedIn profile is so important. If you really get specific on who you help in the headline and in your about section, I treat it like a sales letter, basically. But you put the problem that you solve and who you solve it for in your headline, because that was 2 years ago. LinkedIn said 60% of traffic is mobile. So I would guess it's closer to 75, 80% maybe now. So they're skimming. We all have our heads buried in our phone. We're skimming. So your headline has to get them to stop scrolling. And if they resonate with it, they'll read your about section, which is, I say it's like the inside flap of a book. So it's telling a story about the book, how you can help you. And that's how I really pre-qualify people that want to work with. They come to my profile, they see, oh yeah, this guy works with people over 50, baby boomers who are starting their first business. And then they learn more about me, they connect with me, and then we start a relationship. It takes longer, but I get long-term clients that pay me more and they refer their friends.
Which is much easier than constantly having to look for new customers all the time.
Exactly.
Good stuff.
Everybody thinks it takes longer, but it really doesn't. You can sit there and blast messages at people all day long and you may get someone to respond.
I mean, it's like a flywheel, or once it gets going, it gets faster and faster and faster. But it's that initial push, of course, that you need, and that takes some time. That takes more effort than you would want it to have. But that's business, right? I mean, if we want to have results tomorrow, then we shouldn't be into entrepreneurship, I guess.
Yeah, you have to have a plan. You have to it takes time.
Yeah.
Was it Brendan Burchard? I went to one of his conferences years ago, and he said it takes 3 to 5 years for a business to really start getting traction. So prepare yourself. You're going to get down to that 1 yard line so close to thinking you're breaking through many times, but you'll have setbacks. But once you get over that hump of 3 to 5 years, you're established. But you have to have some way of having some money coming in while you're building your business and your reputation.
Yeah, and I think that's the scary part for most of the people. If you say to anybody that's starting out a business, go ahead and then you will be successful in 3 to 5 years, they will say, wait a minute, no. I want to be successful like in a month, maybe 3 months. Like many of the offers say, get to that amount of revenue in 3 to 6 months.
Right.
Might be possible indeed, but what about consistency? What about long term? Anyway,
it's not easy starting a business and running a business.
No, not at all. I can testify to that. Absolutely. Definitely. Well, a couple of last questions, Ted, here before we have to round. Would TikTok videos work on LinkedIn?
It depends who your audience is.
Again, yeah, absolutely.
Because my best friend from high school, his daughter just got married, and the 3 daughters, they made some TikTok videos for the wedding. they got like 3 million views on TikTok of just fun videos they made about
Yeah.
the wedding. And she's a dental hygienist, and she actually did a video of her making some paste. She made a mold, and then the mold you put in, you can whiten your teeth with it. That's why it's like a 5-minute video of her making this mold and showing how to whiten your teeth. She has like 8 million views on that video. So for her audience, if she put that on LinkedIn, she would resonate with that audience, because most of her connections are probably in their 20s. So you never know.
Crazy. Yeah.
I know. It doesn't sound, you never know. You have to just try it.
You have to test it. Yeah, that's the thing. You test, and continue with what works. And what doesn't work, just go to the next.
So a LinkedIn expert, she helps people with video on LinkedIn. And she posts all these pictures of her laying by her pool in her bikini and, short little videos. Now she's saying, I'm making over $1 million a year on LinkedIn because of what I'm teaching.
Crazy.
So she's attracting that audience of the 20s.
Yeah.
So
yeah, why not?
Yeah. Try
right audience, right messaging, or right video, and you get success.
Exactly.
Cool. I want to thank you, Ted, for a lot of the value that you have shared, for your time. And one last question. What does growth mean for you?
Right now, it's a whole different. My wife just retired a month ago. We just had our first grandchild. And we're kind of at that career. It's like, we're past the finish line.
Yeah.
So growth now, I'm kind of like, actually, I think about this personal development, set goals. It has a whole different meaning for me right now. I don't even know what it means to grow it anymore. They're starting to lose a lot of friends.
Oh, no.
So I was thinking, okay, our time is limited. We got another 25, 30 years left.
Yeah.
Let's make the most of it, whatever that means. So, awesome. Yeah, we've reached this whole nother stage of life, my wife and I. I'm like, well, let's enjoy every minute while we can, because
absolutely.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay, thank you, Ted. Thank you. This was great. Thank you for having you on the show, for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Jocelyn, for your questions. If anybody else has more questions for Ted, you can always go to, and I have it here, yourlinkedincoach.com. You can go there and find everything about Ted and what he does. And if you have more questions for us, just put them in the comments and we will reach out to you. Thank you again, guys. Thank you for listening, for watching. Thank you, Ted. Have a great day. Have a great life, and we'll see each other.
See you on LinkedIn.
Yes.
I'll be watching.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.